All right, I'm going to pull up the YouTube here. It's too many OTBs. Okay, there we go. Copy link. This is an exhilarating start for people trickling in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All 25 of you. All right, I'm going to tweet out from the company. Oh, it's already out from... I think it already automatically got tweeted out, Chris.
Cool.
I had it
Good.
set. Yep.
Thank you.
Work smarter, not harder, as I always say. See what I got there, Zach? I'm going to take that down for now, but we can share it later.
One little tidbit shared with me is that Clemson, which traditionally has been, mid to late October to early November, maybe even earlier than normal this year, in part because, as the person pointed out to me, with the lack of divisions.
So that guy was messing with us on signing day, Chris, that he couldn't hear us.
Gotcha. Okay, I had a moment. Woo.
That's my boy Jared. Let's go.
But that, with the lack of divisions, the two playing each other, conspiracy theory wise, it just doesn't really matter when they do now, because obviously they could very easily be playing each other again in Charlotte in December.
That makes sense. Yeah, I haven't even really let my mind kind of wander to the fact that this is not divisions this year. I haven't gotten that far ahead yet.
3-5-5, New World Order.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting angry about the ACC screwing Florida State. I think is really that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to gear myself up for it. I'm going to be disappointed if it's a favorable schedule, to be honest. I want to be hot tonight. Good show.
Chris, what are some of the locked games, do you think? Are there any locked-in games that you'd project right now for the ACC schedule?
Well, the first two and the last two, so that's LSU and Southern Miss in the front end and North Alabama and Florida in the back end. Those are locked. And then FSU BC on the 16th makes sense because every other opponent FSU is scheduled to play, the other 7, all have a game already scheduled for that Saturday. I do not expect FSU to have that early of a bye. So BC on the 16th, I believe it's at BC, would make sense as well. Beyond that, no. I mean, there's some other league games that are locked. The league tweeted out today about the November 11th Pitt game in Yankee Stadium, I think it was. So there's stuff like that. The league has also shared some of the first couple weeks again this year. Last year, I think they did the first 3 weeks well in advance. They didn't do the same this year. But, when I was having fun with the exercise earlier today of how I would like to project a schedule, what I would like to see, just, my desirable schedule, utopian schedule, I was looking at some of the who plays who already on the schedule type of stuff that's locked in officially to, there was an example. I thought Pitt could be this date, but no, Pitt already had a game locked in on that day. I think Notre Dame was that date for them, so it couldn't be the case.
Zach, what do you think I'm smiling at? I saw you smile as I was smiling. What am I enjoying? I like that Chris's exercise of having total fun of a schedule projection proved to be controversial in some pockets of the universe. 2023. What a time to be alive, fellas. So for those who are trickling in, welcome. Hello, I'm Brendan Sinone. This is On the Bench live. This will be on the OTB feed on Tuesday morning. Below me, Zach Blaustein. Zach, what do you got? What's your name today?
Guys, right now, only for 5 more hours? So at midnight.
So the people listening to this podcast.
75% off sale for an annual subscription. If you're listening to the podcast, it's probably a little bit too late. I'm sorry.
It's gone. It's done.
Brendan didn't upload it in time. Blame him. But 75% off annual sale for the next 5 hours at Knowles247.com. We'll drop a link in the chat for you guys in a bit if anyone's trying to sign up. But yeah, go to Knowles247.com. There's a story you can read on the front page right now that shows everything that you're getting in the subscription. So just make sure to read that. And if you've been thinking about it for a while, it's literally the perfect time to do it. 75% off. It's literally a little bit over $2 a month for the entire rest of this next year. It's a great deal. Take advantage of it. Yeah,
don't complain. Don't come into my inbox on Twitter in a week from now and be like, oh, you guys got any deals coming up? Like, this is the deal to do it now. This is a good one. I don't know when the next one will be. This was a flash one. I didn't even know we were doing this deal until like 20 minutes ago when the guys texted me, and apparently it's been up for a few hours.
The funny thing is it pertains to National Signing Day, which just doesn't feel like it really exists anymore. I mean, we thought we might get a commitment on that day, and Dylan Brown Turner went ahead and did it today. So, like, outside of PWOs announcing their intentions to come to FSU maybe Wednesday, which I think there might be a possibility of a couple of those happening, it's going to be really boring. And it's still kind of weird to me thinking back to even 4 or 5 years ago when it used to be just pure insanity.
You traditionalist.
Chris, we got Jared Curtin wants to know what your beard grooming habit is. How does one get a beard so lush? He asks.
Wash it daily, comb it daily, and use good product. Honest Amish.
Yes,
we need to get in the sponsor.
Chris's beard grooming tips are included in the subscription.
Oh wow, yeah, that's like a icing on the cake, cherry on top. Oh, there's so many dessert analogies with like extra things.
All right, so to set the table a little bit pertaining to the schedule, a couple things to remember. This year, we're going to a 3-5-5 model in the ACC. No more divisions. Bye-bye Atlantic. Bye-bye Coastal Cluster. So now 3-5-5, a team like Pitt, for example, who FSU hasn't played in an eternity at Pitt, will be on the schedule 2 times in a 4-year stretch, with 1 in Tallahassee and 1 in Pitt. So every player that plays at a school for 4 years will play one of those 5 teams. You'll play 3 teams every year, home and away. Home 1 year, away the next, home the next year, away the next. Those 3. For FSU, that's Miami, Clemson, Syracuse. Those are their 3 primaries. The other 5 and the other 5, so the other 10 total, you'll play off years. So you'll play home, and then next year you'll play somebody different, and then you'll play away with that group. So in a 4-year span, you're guaranteed a home and away with each of those 10 other opponents outside your 3 primary. I made that way more confusing than it really is, I promise. So for FSU this year, their 4 home ones are Duke, Miami, Syracuse, Virginia. Their 4 away games in the ACC are BC, Clemson, Pitt, and Wake Forest. So
I'm sharing it.
Just
I'm sharing it
on that a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know the bookends. Basically, there are 8 in between that when the ACC starts its announcement show, schedule show at 7 p.m. in about 5 minutes from now, as we're recording this. Again, if you're listening to the podcast format of this, we'll start getting an idea of those opponents in ACC play. Yeah, so this will be fun to see what shakes out. Chris, you did it in an ideal schedule. What you think would be the most? Was it the most fun? The most like advantageous for FSU? Like, what was the point of that controversial exercise?
I mean, it was a schedule I would like to see, and I stayed true to the fact that the first 2 games, the LSU Southern Miss games, and the last 2 games, North Alabama and Florida, are locked in. And I also stayed true to teams that already had certain dates locked in that were on FSU's schedule with regards to, like, FSU can't play them this week because they're already playing somebody else. So it just sort of like a balance, you know, not having like the 3 straight games like FSU had this year against arguably their 3 best preseason opponents in conference, not having a situation like that. I just thought was better. So this is what I went with. Obviously, LSU in Orlando at Camping World, then Southern Miss. At BC at Wake, so back-to-back roadies to open up ACC play, and then come home, play Syracuse, and then go to Pitt. So that's kind of a nice opening stretch, 3 out of 4 games in the ACC on the road. Get a bye, then go to Clemson, then come home and have VTech, Miami, Duke, all at home to close it up, and then North Alabama, also a home game, and then finish up at Florida. I just thought it was balanced because you got Miami opening up November, Florida closing it. You got Clemson kind of smack dab in the middle of October, and Pitt a couple weeks before. 2 of the more difficult games preseason expectation-wise for FSU, but the bye in between kind of makes that doable. And prior to Pitt, you have Syracuse, who will probably be one of the lowly teams in the ACC this year. So I thought it just worked, and it allows FSU to play a game in Florida, a home game, and then get a couple road games out of the way. So you don't have a cluster where you have multiple road games consecutively. So that's just what I was going with. As someone who's covered a lot of FSU football and also went to a lot of FSU football as a kid, I just know we've had some really great schedules where like, oh, it worked out, some really bad schedules where it was either front or back loaded, and some bad schedules where it was like, oh man, why are we getting this team, that team, and that team back to back to back weeks, stuff like that. So I was just throwing out my utopian version of what I thought it could be for the opponents that FSU is set to play.
You copied my list.
Dane says he's got class at night. Dane, you have no class ever, especially not at night, as I understand it. Florida State Man 4, why isn't Trey breaking this down? Trey will be doing a more succinct breakdown post schedule.
Yeah, it'll be on our YouTube page.
He'll do the 2-minute and 47-second hype video version of this, basically.
And I will post it timely this week as opposed to like 4 days afterwards that we did for the 2024 Class 1 Trey did.
Can we also react to some other schedules around the ACC, like Miami?
Yeah.
Because I'm really interested to see Miami's, man. They could have a tough road. They play A&M, they play FSU, they play UNC, Clemson, and then they finally, or Clemson's included in this, they finally get a little bit of the taste of what FSU has to go through every year in the Atlantic. They play Clemson, Louisville, and NC State. And that's at NC State as well. So I'm interested to see kind of how that schedule unfolds, because that could be really tough for Mario Cristobal in year 2.
Yeah, they might be a better team, but the ability to get surefire layup wins. I mean, hell, MTSU isn't on the schedule this year, so they might be okay. That might be a guaranteed loss, not assured anymore.
I mean, they have that Friday night spring game, which I expect them to probably win. Not for sure, but
I didn't look because they're not on the schedule, but like NC State traditionally has that soft first month. And I don't know if they did that again next year. I'm interested. Duke was an example of a school that I think their first 4 games are all locked in. I think I shared that Duke couldn't be a certain week because of UConn with you, Brendan, when we were talking about this today. So it's always just interesting looking at how certain teams, when they do lock in their 4 non-conference or a conference game that gets a locked in date, sometimes that's a Notre Dame situation for schools, how they maneuver some of those dates, and then it obviously creates a fill in the spaces beyond that. For FSU, it's very bookended, 2 in front, 2 in the back, and everything else it's in the middle. FSU is going to play 8 straight ACC games, no matter how it's cut, with a bye week somewhere mixed in those 9 weeks total. So,
is NC State allowed to play like a challenging non-conference game? Is that allowed? Do they ever do that? I mean, one that they don't make challenging themselves, obviously, like App State or ECU or something like that. Soft Wolfpack.
This person asked, how do you feel about Friday night games? I enjoyed Louisville this year, but I'm not a huge fan of them.
Yeah, once every now and then is fine. Once every couple of years, change it up a little bit. Louisville was nice because we got to spend an extra day in Louisville, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't have to tell you guys. Bourbon.
Quick trivia question. What team does FSU play this year that they've never lost to, but have played previously? Because they've never played North Alabama.
No, I was going to say North Alabama. Southern Miss? No, they lost to Southern Miss. Brett Favre. Pulling up the schedule. Pitt?
Nope. FSU actually has a losing record to Pitt. Dan Marino days and such.
Well, that's before my time. Duke? Have they ever lost to Duke?
Duke is the correct answer. FSU is 21-0 all time against the Dukies. 2 teams last met in Tallahassee in 2020.
So they're saying that Duke is due. They're Duke.
Sonone, come on. No dad jokes, buddy. You got to have a kid first to have dad jokes.
Get going on that. Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. They'll start the broadcast soon here. Real quick before we get into the meat of that, for the podcast listeners, FSU officially announced their spring game. Was not a big surprise. The date will be on April 15th. A Saturday spring game. I know, a novel concept for people in the state of Florida, south of Tallahassee. But yeah, that'll be middle of April. Is there baseball going on that weekend, Chris?
I believe it's a road weekend. I believe softball is home, though.
Okay, so you got something there. Yeah, softball's fun. Softball's fun. It's a good atmosphere. What up, Patrick? How's it going? I owe Patrick some samps. We call bourbon samples. I haven't forgotten. Never forget.
Seems like you did forget.
Yeah, I guess so, but not like permanently. I'm drinking, by the way, guys, I got my ACC championship cup that I'm going to be drinking out of today at the ACC. I think this was the same year as the F-It snafu, Chris, right? Wasn't that in the media guide? F-It or F-This? It was F-This, S-H-I-T. It was the accidental print. You don't remember that? I think it was 2015. Yeah. And there was an accidental print out in the media guide for the ACC. At one page was someone left F-This poop.
Jordan Cornette hosting tonight. Tieless. No tie. Rocking a suit, but no tie.
So how are they doing the show? Is it kind of like a
right now they're going over to the no more divisions, top 2 teams from a conference record standpoint will compete, 3 annual opponents of 355 models that are kind of explaining that.
There, I included in the chat the media guide for people who are interested.
Can you also drop the 75% off?
Oh, you want people to come to our website and
maybe that's a little bit more important than your.
They're talking about notable rivalries still intact, including FSU has won 9 of the last 13 over the Miami Hurricanes.
Are you watching this on your iPad by any chance? Oh, we know it.
Oh, let's go! Chris loves an iPad. All right, Zach, let's do a top 5 list of Chris's 5 favorite things work like professionally that he enjoys. The iPad?
Yeah, no, there's specific.
A good list. I enjoy a good list. Let's all be honest. I get a list.
We get a list, and Chris is able to run down the list and go confirm names. That's one of his favorites.
On the iPad.
The iPad gets booked out for that.
Pinning on pinning would be number 2. That's up there. Yes. He loves pinning.
Centering videos on stories. If you don't,
probably he likes that. I think that's a source of annoyance for him.
But he likes it so much.
Getting to the bench first before anyone else.
Yes.
Also, I
just like setting the tone in that regard. I don't know if I necessarily enjoy that as much as
you do, because then you get kind of like one-on-one time with.
Yeah,
I do enjoy that. You're right.
And also, when someone else is there before him, he does not. He doesn't get mad, but definitely
starts asking questions.
Michael asking in the chat, Lester commits tonight. No, we believe that's fake news.
Yeah, that was a photoshopped. I asked Corey Bender if that was a real message board thing that he posted, because I saw that screenshot and he said that was photoshopped, and that did not happen. So, guys, we're in January. What are we doing?
Too early for this nonsense. For the podcast audience, we will have a breakdown on the YouTube page later. I don't know if this evening. I don't know when we're going to run it. This jammed-packed YouTube page, but the Dylan Brown Turner commitment, Kevin AB will be doing a breakdown. We've addressed it on the website. For the podcast audience, though, we talked about it on Monday's pod and said that could be coming in the next couple of days, depending on what happens. After we finished recording, he decommitted from UNT, committed to Florida State. So FSU did add what's believed to be the final member of the 2023 class from the prep ranks, scholarship-wise. So that's been addressed. We've talked about that, evaluated his game already. No need to rehash that for the podcast people on Tuesday morning, but that did happen if you're getting your news from that. So 2 more things, Zach, that Chris loves before the announcements start rolling in.
Oh my gosh. You already said iPad. Yeah, I'm trying to think of.
He loves to start a basketball season.
I do, and I usually enjoy all of it, but this year not so much.
Checking boxes and moving tackles to guards and corners to safeties.
All right, that's 5. That's a good 5. I'm sure we're missing some. I noticed this. Someone observed it on YouTube one day, and my wife confirmed it. I count like this. I start with 1 on my thumb, which I don't think is how most people do it. But yeah, no, I understand it's probably weird. I never knew it was a weird thing till someone mentioned it. But I think about it. No one else does it like this.
Has your wife diagnosed what that is exactly?
It's 2 on the pecking order of diagnoses that she needs to have for me. That's probably lower down on the list, Zach. Let's see. Going through the chat, seeing we got anything going on. I got some Buyer Sonone sponsored by
the Turner Group.
The Dylan Brown Turner Group. If anyone is interested, we'll throw some questions out there, throw some in the chat, but we will be doing some Buyer Sonones while there's some downtime as well to kind of weave in and out of the live viewing of this, since it's not going to be rapid fire. So I'm going to pull up some Buyer Sonones now. Chris, when things get going, just let me know and I'll stop talking.
I'm working on it to drop it when it comes hot.
Get you.
Buyer Sonone, Chris already has the list.
I do.
Whoa. Not?
You know the schedule?
I think so, but I'm waiting for it to be officially announced. But
was your prediction closer, or the leaked Twitter one with North Florida closer today?
Mine was not insanely close. I don't know on that one, truthfully. I did mention in the thread today pertaining to it, I thought Clemson could be a little bit earlier, and I think I said that a little bit earlier here. I believe Clemson is going to be on September 23.
Oh, should I add
BC, which I said I thought would be the 16th, I believe will be in fact the 16th. So there you go. I'll give you a little bit of September.
Wow, Chris, breaking news here, folks.
That is what I'm expecting. Again, waiting for the official announcement.
September 16th for BC?
Yes, at BC, which made sense because everybody else in the league pretty much is playing somebody.
And then at Clemson on September 23rd?
That is what I am expecting as of right now, yes.
So they have one home game in the first month of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, LSU is a neutral site home game.
That doesn't count. The one game at Doak. I'm sure the local businesses are going to be thrilled about that. What? Tell me they won't be upset. So that's projected right now. I'm going to bold these for now because we don't know for sure. You like this?
The bold makes it seem like you know for sure.
Should I unbold it? You know what? I'll put in the bold the ones that we know for sure.
Yeah.
There we go. So right now, again, recapping, we know LSU September 30th in Orlando. Southern Miss September 9th. I would like to go to a road game at Southern Miss one day. Too bad it's not like a 2 homes to 1 road. I would like to go to Hattiesburg. At BC and at Clemson. Boston College in early September, guys. It's going to be peak foliage.
Dude, Clemson in the first month is so weird to me.
That is strange. Maybe they're trying to set up like Chris mentioned earlier, like a potential like late if they meet in the ACC championship game, like a rematch that's not super. The teams would be very different by then, so it wouldn't be super repetitive. Michael Alpin in the chat asked, no week 0 this year. No, not for Florida State. That was a nice advantage against LSU last year. That warm-up game, I think, was pretty huge.
I like that.
And I think that did last year's team a world of good. Obviously, I think any team would welcome that because it gives them a great opportunity to just kind of work out the kinks, get yourself in order, obviously start practice a little bit earlier. But I think this team's expected, obviously, to be a little bit more together, understanding of who and what they are, and that's probably okay for FSU that they don't have that luxury.
My take on the Clemson game is like I'm kind of stealing Dane's little thing that he's sending in our thread right now during class. Dane, pay attention.
Dane, come on, be a student.
But getting Clemson the first week or first month of the season, I think could be pretty huge, right? They won't be a fully developed team most likely at that point in the season. They're obviously breaking in a new OC in Garrett Riley. They've got a new quarterback that they're breaking in, and Cade Klubnik, and he, those two guys will have to gel and start forming that connection. And I think FSU could find itself at a favorable spot with Clemson so early in the year.
I'm tweeting out something there.
Saw someone in the chat said, who are the best personalities on the team? Kanire Charlton's pretty funny. Robert Scott, he mentioned him. Great dude. I think there was he did that live stream with Battle's End and kind of showed off his whole wall in his apartment. He just basically writes, he draws a bunch of pictures and stuff with pencils on his wall. It's kind of like a mural. It's really cool. But he's an awesome dude to talk to. Who are some other guys that have great personalities?
I enjoy Jerry and Jones talking ish and being himself. I do like that, kind of going villain heel turn. I do enjoy that.
Are you not impressed?
Yeah, I do like that. A lot of the new guys I'm looking forward to. I thought Colorado big man Casey Roddick was really, really thoughtful and insightful, as well as Keandre Jones. So both those guys I'm looking forward to. And there's a difference of being good at a podium or being good at in a one-on-one setting versus being good in season when things aren't going well, or even when things are going well and being insightful without saying too much. So a little different skill sets there. We'll see how those guys are. Ayobami Tafasi was really fun to talk to as a recruit. He had a good personality. Jared Verse is fun because he will just say whatever's on his mind. I do enjoy that. He's a good quote. Mike Norvell's done a really good job of bringing in guys with good personalities. I think that's by design. He brings a lot of thoughtful guys who fit in well, a lot of professional types. I think that some of that is by design with the transfer portal and getting more veterans, but is a lot of, again, thoughtful, articulate guys who are going to be professionals in a lot of other aspects of life beyond football. I think that have been brought in. Jermaine Johnson was a good example of that as well.
Yeah.
Program guys, as Berzik Z says. Berzik. Oh. Okay, let's get to some buyers to known while the ACC's daddling. This is from. Oh, I already read that one earlier today. All right, this is fitting, guys. This is from Stogfather. Buyers to known brought to you by the Turner Group. Noles overtake Clemson in the ACC this season.
That is the goal. I will buy it. I think Clemson breaking in a new OC, technically breaking in a new quarterback. I think FSU gets them in the first month of the season. They have a real shot. And I know they only lost by 31-24 this past year. Is that what it ended up being?
It was a one score game where they were.
But I think FSU figured out down a stretch in that game that they belonged on that field with Clemson, and I think that is something that will carry over with many of the guys who will be on the roster for FSU this coming season.
Middle eight, baby. What about you, Zach?
I'll buy it. I think all the pieces are here for Florida State to do it. If they're going to do it any year, I think it's going to be this year. It's not to say the future isn't bright in Tallahassee, but it's especially bright in 2023 with just all the pieces coming back, the transfer additions that they've added this offseason. I really think it can come together and Florida State can win this league.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to buy that. This is the year to do it. FSU's bringing back everyone. Clemson, for the reasons you guys mentioned. I don't have to rehash it, but this is the year to do it. I think 2024, you're going to have to do a bit of a reset at Florida State. Not a big one, hopefully, but with Jordan Travis leaving and Clemson having its quarterback for a full season going into that. This is the year to have that momentum and to potentially leapfrog them or start kind of in that race, getting back up there. And why not? You're close enough this year. You've been close the last 2 years, honestly, and your talent level should be the highest it's been, whereas Clemson's descending a little bit. TB Golf 714, Buyers to Known, brought to you by the Turner Group. You guys get it. 5 games in Doak are played in prime time next fall. Well, certainly not in September.
In Doak, no.
I mean,
on the total schedule, yes. In Doak, no.
The home schedule's just not great.
I mean, there's only 5 games in Doak.
Yeah, but
on the show, sorry to interrupt. On the show, they're at week 3. About to talk about that. That is September 16th weekend. We are expecting it to be FSU at Boston College that weekend. Mm-hmm. We'll let you know as soon as they say it officially.
Do you want me to be tweeting any of this out, Chris?
No.
Okay.
I'll handle that.
Okay.
We're good.
Got it. So back to let us know when that's official, or if that's official, or if it's wrong and you're going to be embarrassed and look awful, Chris. But yeah, FSU, to answer Tyler's question there.
FSU at Boston College confirmed, Simone.
Let's go,
How
Chris.
about that, buddy?
Chris Nee had it first. Chris
Nee had it first. Scoop monster.
I'm not saying that. I don't want to get into one of those.
You don't want to be called Scoop Monster? What's wrong with that?
Yeah. 75% off, Knowles 24/7. If you want to know where to get the information first, this YouTube page for free / Knowles 24/7.
Yes.
Pay money for. So yeah, there's only 5 games, Tyler, at home this year. So I don't think Duke and Florida State's going to be prime time.
Yeah, neither is Virginia Tech and probably not Syracuse.
Yeah, it's kind of a poopy home slate, to be honest.
It's not great at all.
No.
Again,
no. Home schedule is not super appealing.
Wait, isn't there 6 games at home? Southern Miss, Miami, Duke, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, and North Alabama.
Oh, yeah, I'm counting North Alabama. I have them bolded, so confused.
Hey, don't sleep on North Alabama being a primetime game.
Okay. QB asks, he did not do the correct format. He's playing a different game. Can we move the line of scrimmage? I think FSU is going to be able to this year. I'm optimistic. They've brought in beef via the transfer portal, another year of development. Hopefully, knock on wood, a healthier offensive line for the returning guys. Why not? Why wouldn't they be able to this year? They've brought in guys who've been able to move masses of humanity at other levels of football, including the SEC. And so why not this year? I think that's possible. Zach, what about you? FSU going to make some moves in the trenches?
100% buy. I think that if you look at any position group heading into next year, I think that's the one I'm on both sides of the football I'm most stock up on, just because of the talented bodies you added. Obviously on the defensive line, Braden Fisk is probably going to be an all ACC defensive lineman in my opinion. He's just wreaks havoc at multiple positions. The versatility is amazing. And then you look at Daryl Jackson. He has great NFL upside. If he puts it all together, he could be a dominant force on the D line. And then you have the returners: Jared Verse, Pat Payton, Fabian Lovett. I mean, it's a great group. And you move to the other side of the ball. You return a few guys off last year's line. Then you add some really quality dudes. You got Bless Harris coming back from an injury. Maybe even Dimitri Emmanuel, if he gets his waiver for next year to be able to play. I mean, that would be huge at the very least for depth. But he was, a really quality, starting guard for you last season, and could definitely do the same next year as well. And you've added even more, depth or potentially starting pieces at guard with Keandre Jones, Casey Roddick, and then maybe Jeremiah Byers can go guard or tackle for you, which is awesome. But I'm really high on both those groups.
They went to commercial break, teasing battle in Death Valley as they get ready to show Week 4, which would be Saturday, September 23rd. That's when we're expecting FSU at Clemson. So that tease makes perfect sense. To keep this show moving, we boys will have an off week that last week of September, I believe.
Whoa.
So FSU opens with 4 bye week and then 8 straight weeks of play to close the year. That's the expectation.
Kind of sucks.
It's got to come somewhere. It does come after Clemson. It would have been fantastic to come before Clemson. That was the utopian schedule version by Chris Nee. But after Clemson's not the worst, because if you do get beat up, say you have a Louisville type of game this past year, you at least are able to get healthy before you open up October. And I think October will be viewed as a easy month on the FSU schedule when people see the full slate of what's expected in October.
I guess so. I mean,
check the schedule so people can see it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I had it up. That's what she said. I don't like the beginning slate of the season. And here's
LSU, Southern Miss, at BC, at Clemson.
So you have only one game at home. You have arguably your 2 toughest opponents, and one of those is coming off of a conference road game. I don't think that's an optimal start.
Who does Clemson have on the 16th, the week before FSU? Do you know offhand? I'll look if you know.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a week that they were just doing. So let me look. Clemson is expected on the week of the 16th to face FAU.
They have their Charleston Southern, then FAU. Who's their first game? Did they not play that first weekend?
All right, so they're coming back from commercial break. FSU Clemson being teased. I'm not actually listening to it. I'm just watching it. So I don't know for a fact that they have, in fact, said it is September 23rd, but it is.
Yeah, Clemson doesn't. They have Notre Dame this year, but that's not until November.
Yeah.
If anyone's in the chat and you know who Clemson has before FSU, let us know, please.
Florida Atlantic.
Oh.
Yeah. They have FAU and then Charleston Southern the week before. So a lot of tough tests before FSU.
I'm legitimately angry right now.
You just are finding a reason to be angry, I think.
No, I'm not. This is a bull crap. I know I said that's what I was going to do, and so you guys wouldn't even know if I was lying because I said that before the show. But no, FSU has their 2 hardest games in the first month of the season. Clemson gets to cakewalk and just trounce along. They get the game at home, which was going to happen anyways. But FSU has to go on the road before that game. What are we doing? ACC.
Maybe
Explain
Jeff
yourself.
Hafley will take it easy on FSU.
This is great for the podcast crowd where Brendan just sits in silence.
I'm blinking furiously in anger.
They are showing a hell of a lot of video clips before actually saying the words. Yes. Okay, here we go. So week 4, NC State at Virginia on Friday, FSU at Clemson on Saturday. That's September 23rd, as we said. Miami's at Mighty Temple that week. BC at Louisville, North Carolina at Pitt, VTech at Marshall, Army at Syracuse, Duke at UConn, Georgia Tech at Wake Forest.
How does Miami play at Temple? What?
I think it's a Manny Diaz special or Manny Diaz special, as Chris likes to say.
Delve into your why you hate this schedule so much, Brendan.
I think I've already have, but I'll give you guys another reaction. I think it's a ridiculous schedule for FSU if you're trying to. Hang on, I'm tweeting this out.
Got to get the tweet out first.
Yeah. If you're trying to protect your two best brands, Florida State and Clemson, I understand them playing early to set up something at the end of the year that might be more meaningful or different potentially. But for FSU, you're basically putting them in harm's way to get 2 losses potentially. Like their 2 toughest games. FSU has a chance to be eliminated in September from playoff contention. They might have 2 losses. I don't think they'll have 2 losses by then. I think they'll beat one of those teams. But you're stacking the 2 hardest games on paper in the first month of the season with another road game in there that you can't absolutely control as an ACC scheduling entity. It just doesn't make sense to me. I know you have to play these games somewhere. I'm usually the one in previous years saying, it's not that bad. FSU fans are overreacting. If you're mad or annoyed at this, I don't blame you because I'm mad and annoyed at it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know what's happening. Thank you. AB says I'm spot on. I agree, AB. I agree with myself and you agreeing with me. You guys aren't mad about this?
You got to play them at some point. I don't lose sleep over such things. I put out my utopian schedule and got accused of copying it off somebody today. So who the hell knows? But FSU Clemson, loser of that game's not eliminated in the ACC because of the fact that we don't have divisions anymore. It's not the old you're going to be essentially feeling like you're 2 games behind when you lose 1 to an Atlantic team who has a great shot of winning the Atlantic. That's gone. If FSU wins, Clemson doesn't lose again, they're playing in Charlotte most likely. If FSU loses and they don't lose again, they're probably playing Clemson in Charlotte if Clemson doesn't lose. So the dynamic of it all has changed because of that. Kind of touched on that when we first jumped this thing off this evening.
What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest gripe with it is that, the lack of home games, right? Because LSU just doesn't count to me, even if it's in Orlando. That's not, you're not in Doak. And if they win LSU, I'm sure the city of Tallahassee would just love to capitalize on that momentum again, like they did this past season. And you get to go against Southern Miss 1 week and then go on the road, and then have a bye week.
Yeah, it'll be October. They would have played. It'll be October, and they'll be playing, or I guess maybe late September. No, yeah, it'll be October.
No.
You want me to make a little sense of that, though, with regards to what comes next for them?
Do you work for the ACC, Chris?
No. I don't. And I don't disagree with you, too, with it being kind of foolish in the sense of protecting properties. But FSU is going to be home for a month straight after they play Clemson. They have the bye, and then they have 3 straight home games.
They better be.
Right.
Where else are they going to play these home games?
But, it's a weird deal. You got to put people at certain places. I thought at some point that, Pitt Miami, Pitt FSU, Pitt Clemson, Pitt Miami, something like that was going to be clustered together. Obviously, they moved Clemson way up. September was a bit of a surprise. That's not what I expected going into today. But later in the day, I was told that was a possibility, and here we are. But, Pitt Miami is going to be clustered late in the schedule. But October is a pushover for FSU. They had the bye the last week of September. And then just to go ahead and put it out there, FSU versus VT, first weekend in October, FSU versus Syracuse, FSU versus Duke, 3 consecutive weekends. VT should be family weekend, and Duke should be homecoming, from what I understand. And then FSU closes out October with their trip to Wake Forest.
I'm not happy. I've lost the will to podcast. Buyer Sonone, hometown Noel. Julian Armella becomes a meaningful rotational piece by the end of the season. I kind of hope not. Just I think they want to start working him in this year, but you're hopeful that your tackles are pretty well entrenched, and you have 7 or so players ahead of Armella, right?
All right, here we go. Speed version. VTech at FSU, October 7th, confirmed. We were off on the last week of September, as I've mentioned. So that's through week 6 officially. And I also just posted to the site the full schedule if people want to go look.
Oh, wow. At Knowles 24/7. Let's go. 75% off. Flash sale. Can we just put the whole schedule on here then, Chris?
If you'd like to, you can. And you can put unconfirmed for the ones that they have yet to formally announce on the show. But at this point, because of the fact that, we're 5 for 5, I feel pretty good about it.
All right, let's just, what? It's a projection. It's a depth chart. I don't know why that's happening with the formatting thing. All right, what do we got?
Not like they can kick us out of a practice in February.
Too soon. Next.
Dude, Miami's schedule so far is Miami, Ohio at home, then A&M at home, then Bethune-Cookman at home, and then at Temple.
Okay, what would you guys trade for Miami to lose against Miami, Ohio? What would you surrender? What would you give up? Would Miami winning an ACC championship this year probably not make good for them losing to Miami, Ohio? Just the jokes that would write themselves. What's the trade-off we're willing to make for that?
No.
What are you sacrificing to the football gods?
Wake Forest at Clemson on Saturday, October 7th.
That's what you're sacrificing?
No, I'm throwing that one out there as a decent game.
Sam Hartman ain't walking through that door.
I don't know. FSU basketball not being relevant for the next 5 years.
I'm fine with that trade-off.
Chris is going to kill us.
We just call that the Steve Romson era around these parts.
Sacrifice Sean Ruiz in the chat.
Whoa.
That's what someone said in the chat.
That was Zach Blostein. That was
2 words. Litigation.
Brendan Sinone actually told me to say that. He works at Knowles247.com under CBS Sports.
You know what? I think we can all agree that was Dane Draper. Thanks, Nate.
Yes, true.
VTech officially confirmed as family weekend.
Ooh.
Wow.
On October 7th. So coming up next will be FSU versus Syracuse on October 14th.
Already in the chat.
Just sharing for those listening and not seeing.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
You're doing an awesome job navigating this Google Sheet, Brendan.
I'm juggling a lot of things at once.
This is why they teach Excel classes for people like Brendan.
Oh wait,
so
did I forget one?
Yeah, if you're watching, what are you doing?
I feel like I'm forgetting something. I am.
Yeah, at Wake first.
Why don't you just read them to me?
At Wake, and then at Pitt.
What date?
The November 4th.
Okay. And
then home against Miami.
Oh, so they have a road game before Miami as well, huh?
Yeah.
ACC, go screw yourself. You're so
Miami,
bad at what you
Miami
do. You're
and
awful.
Florida within 3
That's
weeks.
awful. ACC. I can't wait until FSU gets the money to leave your crappy league. You suck. Awful. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Syracuse at Florida State confirmed on the broadcast as week 7 on October 14th.
They're so bad.
I feel like you're giving Miami too much respect, and I just don't expect that out of you. I'm surprised to hear you as the one doing that.
I mean, it's a
Pitt's a harder game than Miami.
But what we got to remember is when we write it down on paper, we think, oh, this team's going to be really good, and then the season plays out, and half the time that's not true. So
I understand that, but it is January, and this is all I have to go off of is what's on paper. And
right.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that I'm the emotional one and you guys are being level-headed.
I'm just over here doing work.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like,
on an
go win your
iPad.
games. Go win your games. I'm not
Line them up. Anyone,
line them
anywhere.
up, maybe. I'm not one to get worked up over schedules personally. You know, I'll get worked up over other stuff. But not schedules.
You?
Never, Chris.
Zach worked up. Zach gets worked up over everything these days.
That's not true. Not schedules.
FSU officially confirmed Syracuse on week 7 as well via their Twitter account. Just triple confirming. Triple Lundy.
DJ Lundy.
I like the month of October, just, you know, kind of a little chill ride the first 2 weeks for sure. I don't think VTech or Syracuse are going to be all that good in 2023, but you know, Duke, I think that's an interesting one. What do you think of Duke, Brendan?
I hate Duke.
I voted Mike Elko ACC Coach of the Year, and people hated me for it. I enjoyed those moments.
He probably deserved it. Mike Norvell or Elko, either one.
People's counterpoint was soft scheduling. Yes, they had a very soft schedule. They also had been absolutely freaking dreadful for the 2 years before he got there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They'll probably take a little bit of a step back, I think, this year. They lose a lot of pieces on their offensive line. That the offensive tackle, was it the Barton guy? Who's it? He's from Nashville. We liked him in our Tampa portal, Zach. Remember him?
Yeah. I don't remember his name, but I remember him.
Pro. I don't think he's coming back. I hope not.
Okay. Okay. Can you stop getting so worked up so we can actually break down the schedule? Isn't that what we're on here to do, Brendan?
I think the schedule sucks. I think we broke it down perfectly. The ACC.
No, we need to break down. Are we not going to break down the individual games?
Okay, Duke, October 21st, before at Wake Forest, which I'm sure the ACC will host an ACC championship game in Greensboro when it's all said and done. I'm sure that's the next step of this evolution. Even more tobacco roadie.
I'm sorry, everyone, for just having to deal with this guy. Yeah, I mean, if you're tired of this, you can go over to no247.com, and we got a 75% off deal going on right now. Only for the next few hours, though. About 4.5 hours left. It ends at midnight. Flash sale, 75% off an annual subscription to No247. Take advantage of it while you can. This is literally a little bit over $2 a month for an entire year at No247. I mean, I don't know what you guys value, but that's great value to me. So
it's only $2 a month.
Are you broken, Brendan? Are you okay?
Yes.
I'm a little worried about you, buddy.
We're reading literal names of schools and dates on paper, and Brendan is freaking out.
Okay, Brendan, here you go. Okay. You can move 2 games. Who do you move and why?
I would switch the... So I would move... Ooh, okay. I like this exercise, Chris. Have we announced every single date? We have, so people listen on the podcast.
All right. Well, yeah, I worked them through October. So October goes October 7th, VTech. 14th is Syracuse. 21st is Duke. Those are all at home. Family weekend on the 7th. Homecoming on the 21st. And FSU travels to Wake Forest on the 28th of October. They close out the season with 4 games in November, starting on November 4th when they travel to Pitt for the first time since
2013.
There you go.
That was my first game.
Yep, and only the second time they've played since. And then Miami at home. We're not going to Doak South. They're coming to Doak North, November 11th. And then North Alabama, first ever meeting between the 2 teams. And then Florida in Gainesville on November 25th.
What if I did this, Chris? All right, so this is how I move it around. I would take Virginia
You don't actually move it.
No, I'll put it back. I'll put it back.
People.
They're not. Hey, guys, this is.
So you're putting Clemson after a bye, which is what I had on my utopian version of a schedule.
And you get a home game also on September 23rd, right?
Yeah. So you have them going home, away, home, bye week, away, home, home, and then away, away, home, home, away.
Balance. Look at that. That's how you do it, ACC. That's infinitely better.
The force is perfectly balanced, is what you're trying to say, Brendan. So what Brendan did was he flipped VT and Clemson. He moved VT in front of the bye, Clemson behind the bye. That's what he did in his perfect version of the schedule.
All right, now change it back.
Yes, sir. What would you guys do? How would you change it up if you could only swap one?
I like that swap. because I think getting Clemson after the bye is the most ideal. And then you get another home game in the month of September, which is
I would move Syracuse to at Pitt.
You would move Syracuse
and Pitt. So I would go by VTech at Pitt, Duke at Wake, Syracuse at home, Miami at home, North Alabama at home, at Florida. I like having that strong. If you're going to have like a run of home games, have it at the very end.
Okay. I see what you're doing there. You like the momentum at the end of the year. Now, a lot of winnable games at the end of the year, too. Duke, Wake should be down, Syracuse, Miami.
The cheat sheet answer also is just switching behind Clemson, putting the bye in front of Clemson instead of behind Clemson.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense, too. Yeah, I don't like this. Zach, what about you? What would you do, buddy?
Didn't I already say it?
I wasn't listening.
Oh, that's your fault. Should we break down some of these games and what we think early on, like how these matchups are going to go, or is it not worth it?
Well, since you guys had to carry the load there for a while, I can share some fun facts about each FSU opponent.
Oh, you know what, Zach? All right, that's on the list from earlier. Chris loves going through a media guide. Loves it.
I do enjoy media guide. You're right. I'm sorry, I'm a traditionalist in some ways. This is why me and Dane should get along better than we actually do.
What's that supposed to mean? Whoa.
Dane's hatred of tight ends that are phenomenal. Me and him are a little bit on the outs over that.
Understandable.
So obviously FSU opening up with LSU, same as last season. This time FSU will essentially host them in a neutral site, but in Florida. FSU's 8-2 all times against those Tigers. And the last time the two teams played in the Sunshine State was in 1990, with FSU winning 42-3. Southern Miss, actually pretty common opponent for FSU historically. 23 meetings previously, 14-8-1 for the Seminoles. Can you name the last time the two of them met? No. You should know this, Brendan. Well, you didn't go.
Independence Bowl.
Independence Bowl. There we go. Good job. Somebody read it. With FSU winning. Last time they met in Tallahassee was 1996, though. So it's been a good while. Obviously, ACC opponents, people are much more familiar. BC obviously played them a bunch. The last two times FSU played at BC, 21 and 19. They won both of those games at Alumni. Clemson, FSU looking to end a 7-game losing streak. The last time FSU won at Clemson was
2013.
There you go. Such a common answer tonight. That and a Pitt answer. VT, the last time FSU played VT was, oh my God,
2018.
But it was what? It was
the Willie Taggart era.
Swag surf, baby.
Swag service.
Surf.
Scott White.
Those moments.
Running a copyrighted.
FSU is 23-13-1.
I've been good with those guys. They said we could use it anytime. They were on the pod. We're good.
Syracuse, obviously pretty common opponent. This would be the 16th time FSU and them face off, 13-2 in FSU's favor. We all know what FSU did to them last year. A much closer game in Tallahassee 2 years ago. Syracuse will be coming back to Tallahassee. Duke, we talked about it earlier. FSU 21-0 all time against the Blue Devils. They last met in Tallahassee in 2020. They haven't played each other a whole lot in the last decade, though.
Do you remember the 2017 game at Duke, Chris? That was a fun one.
Jaquez Patrick, right? Didn't he?
He went off. Jimbo had like a fun script to start the game. James Blackman.
I think Patrick had a targeting on offense. They didn't call it, but he essentially was a targeting on offense.
I remember someone's grandma screaming about how they shouldn't throw the ball to other players on the team after the game.
So the weekend that Florida State is at Wake Forest. This is some of the other ACC action. That's week 9. Syracuse at VT on a Thursday. UConn at BC. Duke at Louisville. North Carolina at Georgia Tech. Pitt at Notre Dame. Clemson at NC State. Pretty good game, but who knows what NC State's going to be with quarterback changes. And Virginia at Miami. That's the weekend of October 28th in the league. Back to the FSU stuff. Pitt, we talked about. Last time FSU was there was 2013. Last time they met each other was 2020. That was a game where, Nick Patty started? Who started that 2020 game for Pitt? They had the quarterback.
No, Hartman was. It was Hartman, wasn't it? No, wait.
No,
that was 20. Pitt. Sorry. Oh, Pitt. Sorry, I was thinking.
Was it Patty? Was it Joey? Something last name I can't recall off the top of my head. I know they had banged up quarterback issues going into that one.
No, whatchamacallit played on a bum ankle.
Pickett?
Yeah, Pickett played with his ankle taped. It was his first game back. Yeah.
But they weren't sure he was going to play going in? Is that what
correct.
It was?
That was correct.
Okay. Yeah. Miami, everybody's super familiar with. North Alabama, first ever meeting. Florida, this is the 57th meeting, I believe. of the rivalry this coming year?
Us?
So, no, I'm pretty sure it is. So that's just a rundown on it. If you look at the release that I put, or not release, but the story I put up about the schedule, it has the stuff on each opponent. I got a little bored and had a little fun with it.
Oh, and your one home game at the start of the season before October is off of a short week as well.
So Jenny here in the chat is asking about Parents Weekend. Family Weekend is October 7th. Homecoming is October 21st. I didn't see specifically if they're having in addition to Parents Weekend.
Is there a difference between a Family Weekend and Parents Weekend?
I think Family and Parents is the same thing.
I think it is technically. They've called it both over the years, and I can't remember for sure.
All right, guys.
Keep talking about the tier system, North Alabama and Bama.
And nothing in between that, right? What else do we want to talk about? I think that's I think that was everything. We got everything we wanted out of this. Chris got it. He scoop monstered it. You got me to break down a little bit, which is good. I haven't broken down on a on a show like that since Travis Hunter broke our hearts a year and a half ago. Too soon? I don't know.
Who do you think is the sneaky toughest opponent, and who do you think is overhyped on the schedule going into next year that FSU will handle?
I think Pitt is preseason ranked, and I don't know if they live up to that. I think that team's still living a little bit off of what they were the last couple of years. I'm not sure that's what they're going to be, but it's an Arduzzi team. They're going to play tough. They're going to kind of test your will to some degree. So I think they'll be overranked going into the year. What team do I think could be more difficult than I'm probably giving them credit for?
Oh, I got one. Florida. They really addressed their offensive line in the portal, and they really addressed their quarterback position. They'll be really good this year.
Brendan's back, buddy. He's feeling so much better very quickly. I guess I don't know. I mean,
Duke. My thing was maybe Duke.
Yeah,
but
I
mean, they're coming off an
quarterback, right?
Season.
Yeah. The young man who played quarterback from last year,
Riley Leonard.
Yeah, the safety who was extremely.
Wait, Riley Leonard's not back?
I can't remember. When FSU doesn't play them year over year, I don't pay attention to it until we're getting ready for the year. So I haven't dived in. I can't remember if Riley Leonard was a 1-year rental or not.
I think he's coming back. I'm pretty sure.
So that helps. I know they lose a very good safety. I think they lose a couple linemen on offense. So we'll see. Plus Duke last year, again, soft schedule kind of allowed them to be what they were last year. I'm interested if Halfley bounces back at BC. They were so god-awful last year. I think he's a good coach.
Yeah, I do too.
Definitely think he's a good defensive coach.
And the one thing is that, if you watch those BC games, some of those games are getting blown out, FSU for instance, but they usually played hard throughout. They didn't really quit. So I thought that was a good sign.
Yeah, they do lose their quarterback, and they lose their NFL caliber blockers.
So the one guy who had to scheme around on offense.
Week 10 in the league, which is when FSU plays at Pitt on November 4th, starts on a Thursday with Wake Forest at Duke. Friday has BC at Syracuse. Saturday has Notre Dame at Clemson, VTech at Louisville, Florida State at Pitt, as mentioned, Miami at NC State, Georgia Tech at Virginia, and Campbell, Mighty Fighting Camels of Campbell at North Carolina.
This is Miami's opening month. Ready? So you got Miami, Ohio at home. You got Texas A&M at home. You have Bethune-Cookman at home. You go at Temple. And then you have Georgia Tech at home. That's their first month.
At Temple is a doozy, a nardoozy, if you will.
But that's going to be a crazy stretch for Miami. They have to play Clemson, FSU, Louisville, and NC State in the back half of their season.
What do you think it would take for that fan base? Well, not even the fan base, because it's minor and mostly on social media. Like boosters, people who matter, to start getting antsy with Mario Cristobal. Like if they go 6-6 or something in year two, and especially if it's at the end of the year, if it's the end of a year collapse, when do they start getting really, really, really frustrated?
I think that they've locked themselves into a long deal, obviously, with him. So there's a lot of money invested into that contract. So the buyout wouldn't be easy, but it's another one of those things where, if it's not going to work for a guy that you literally, broke the bank for.
They didn't literally break a bank.
a guy that you spent a ton of money on, that basically no one thought was going to leave his former position to go there, until right around when he did. If he can't do it, who can? Right? Like Mario Cristobal is not a perfect coach, but he's probably going to be the best recruiter that Miami can hire, right now within the next decade or whatever of their football program. And he's done a really good job at that aspect of their program. The on-field stuff is one thing, but at least he's bringing in some talent through the high school ranks and some through the portal. But yeah, to me, I think they probably give him at least 3 years. If they have another year where they're missing a bowl game, it could get ugly quick. But I don't anticipate that. They just play such a cupcake schedule, especially that first half of the year, that it would really surprise me. And another thing they have to do is they have to go probably pay a ton of money for another coordinator, offensive coordinator, with Josh Gaddis leaving. So yeah, maybe some of the boosters there get a little impatient, but I think Mario's friends with a lot of those guys. Obviously, money's going to trump friendship, right? If they're investing a ton of money into this program, they expect to see wins. So we'll see. But I think he'll have enough goodwill from those with power down in Coral Gables to last at least into year 3, I would say.
What was the original deal? 8 years?
Yeah, isn't it 8 years, like 80 million?
I think it's 8. So I think he gets at least half. I think he gets to 4. The one thing you got to allow, if he's going to recruit at the high level he's recruiting at, you allow him to stack a couple classes and see if it does start taking hold and trending in the right direction. Now, the issue for him in the portal era, and it's the issue for any coach in the portal era, is if you stack good classes, but they immediately depart campus within 12 to 24 months of walking through the door, they don't really exist. So that would be the one thing I think could change that. But I think he's given time. The reality is he took over a program that wasn't very good, and he doesn't coach a style that lends itself to what he took over. Let him get his guys in there, see if it takes any hold, has success. But, when a school like FSU comes into your house and blows the doors off, if that happens, not this coming year, but the following year down there, that's the kind of thing that makes people get, itchy on the trigger.
Chris, what are the 3 road games, or I guess non-home games, that you're looking forward to most in terms of just now that we got the timing of it, you get to know what the temperature is going to be like, how you're going to be feeling on travel schedules and whatnot. Like, what are the 3 games that you're looking forward to? I would say covering the most, but just the overall experience of
LSU, because I enjoyed that. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Good season opener for both clubs. I think they're both going to be really, really good. I don't love that stadium, but whatever. At Clemson, because that's going to be a very important day for this program and where it's going, where it is, where it wants to be, all of those things. And then obviously Florida is significant and matters, but I'll go at Pitt because I really enjoyed my trip up there 10 years ago. I had a very, very good time. It's a pro stadium. It's a very nice stadium. Good place to have some good fun. Any Seminole fans that haven't been, I would suggest go do it. There's a lot of stuff to do in that area. A lot of places to have fun, a lot of good food to eat, good beer to drink if that's your forte. Have fun. Pitt's a good time. And early November will be cold, but hopefully, not icy and snowy type of cold.
Pamani Brothers, a little overrated.
Yeah, I'd agree.
A lot
with
overrated,
that,
actually.
There's a lot of good options up there beyond that. So, continuing the ACC release officially, FSU Miami at FSU is officially November 11th, as we've had. Other games that weekend: Virginia at Louisville on a Thursday, VTech at BC, Georgia Tech at Clemson, NC State at Wake Forest, Duke at UNC, and that is the weekend that Pitt and Syracuse play in Yankee Stadium.
Well, that would have been fun. But I was already scheduled. That would be fun to go cover.
In our stretch of bad football teams, lowly bowl games, I really wanted the Pinstripe Bowl. I hate the New York Yankees. No offense to any Yankee fans out there this evening. Not a fan. Families from Boston, what do you expect? But I would love to go to the Pinstripe Bowl. It would be pretty cool to cover a game there.
Alrighty. Do you want to play a little buyers to know more, waiting for the rest of the ACC to announce? I know Chris has to see this through until the bitter end. I know that's what's happening here.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right.
Hey, I told you have me till 8:15. No matter what, we're getting to at least 8, buddy.
I understand what's happening now. It took me a minute. When I tried to go 5 minutes ago and you refused, I know who I'm married to work wise. I understand what's happening here. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Beta Null 8587 buyers to know we get College Game Day at Doak next season. He's not counting the neutral site Orlando. What game? Miami, maybe, if Miami's good. November 11th would be a potential one.
Yeah. I think there's a fair chance they can get game day twice in September. LSU and at Clemson are both definite possibilities.
Yeah,
but that's not at Doak. Right. That's not at Doak. Unless Brent Pry pulls something off up there in Blacksburg, I just don't see it happening before potentially November 11th.
Yeah, FSU would probably have to be 4-0 coming off the bye, and Virginia Tech would have to be a top 20 team or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to Sonone it. I don't think that's likely. Colin, Bohannon, Bayer Sonone, FSU's 2023 third team offensive line is better than FSU's 2018 first team offensive line. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who would be on the third team. Yeah, I guess Abdul Bello isn't on any of the, wouldn't be on this third team offensive line, so no knock on Abdul. Vaughn Williams. Those were the days, guys. Has Zach just checked out? You done, Zach? You haven't talked in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm dealing with the situation right now. Sorry.
Oh, like a FSU?
Does it rhyme with Marlowe's Pester?
Marlis Pester, not Marlos.
Charles Pester. Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
I'm like trying to figure that one out.
So my new method in the last couple of weeks has been to, like, when I try to confirm with a source, like it's something, I'll just be like, does it rhyme with blank? And I find that it disengages people, makes them laugh and enjoy it. The key, though, Chris, is it actually has to rhyme with the name that you're trying to get an answer.
Marlo, Charles, it's close enough.
Marlos Lester. Zach, what's happening?
I'm dealing with a situation in my personal life.
Oh, okay. Do you need to go?
No, I'm fine.
There's a cockroach, I think. He does not like cockroaches, is what I had to guess.
No, I'd be running out of this room if there's a cockroach.
Here's a good one. DRA 15, draw 15. Buyers to know Knowles 24/7 would win an Anchorman style battle royal with the other 24/7 sites reporters.
Rusty's a large man, so I don't know if we could take down Georgia. Like, Rusty's a big dude. He looks like a JUCO D tackle.
Can we draft Josh Pate for this? He's been on the bench multiple. I know, that's what I'm saying.
He's in shape.
I want the muscle.
That dude works out. Good for him. I don't know. I mean, I think we probably could. Well, I don't honestly know Jacob Rudner over at the UF side, but like I know Blake, and I feel like, no offense to Blake, we can all take Blake. I love Blake too, so like I'm not hating on the dude.
The amount of Knowles 24/7 runs deep now, so I just think attrition in numbers wise would be able to overwhelm most people.
Yeah, I mean we have a solid starting like offensive line. Put Chris at center or guard, and AD is one of our tackles. Who's the quarterback?
I got a wicked cannon.
Dang, he has the looks. So
Dane does look like a quarterback.
Week 12 schedule, which is when FSU plays North Alabama, so we're all going to hope for a noon kickoff and watch some good football that day. BC is at Pitt in the midweek game. I think it's actually a Thursday. And then that weekend you have – sorry, it's taking a second to load here. Jordan Cornett's doing the hand motion. It's got the George Bush Jr. going on.
Oh, let's not get political here. You know, if Dane were
all right, here we go. North Carolina at Clemson. Syracuse at Georgia Tech, Duke at Virginia, Louisville at Miami, Wake Forest at Notre Dame, NC State at Virginia Tech. And then rivalry week.
I hate this so much. Whiskey Way, Buyers to Known, the DB board will be an all-timer. It's going to be very deep.
Yeah, and I think they're kind of lucking out a little bit just because of how deep the 24 class is, with especially like in the Southeast with quality and talented defensive backs. But yeah, FSU's in it for a lot of those guys too.
An all-timer is pretty like setting a high bar there. Wasn't the 2015 class with like Derwin James and Tavares McFadden?
T-Mac.
Oh, we got a special guest to help carry us home here.
Let's
Hi,
go.
Coach AB. How are you, buddy?
It's AB.
Hot
Carry
takes
us
are
home.
about it. Yeah, hot
Carry
takes.
me
Let's
home.
go.
Yeah, we need some hot
AB,
takes.
give us your top 3 hot takes.
Hot takes. What? Hold on. What are we? Hot takes on what exactly?
All right,
You gotta come in
25
hot, baby.
Chaos.
I need some focus. I need to be focused. I'm a boiling machine right now. I need focus.
Derwin James, Tavares McFadden, and
Derwin James, the best football player to ever play for Florida State.
Calvin Bruton. Oh, that's a hot take. AJ Westbrook. I mean, it was a pretty good class. It was Marcus Lewis. Remember, we thought he was going to be something, and then he had a hip injury.
The schedule is
right.
ass.
Okay, AB, let's get into it. I am outraged by the first 4 games of the season.
Your season is over in the first 4 weeks.
Well, over if you lose. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, correct.
Yeah, if you lose, if you lose twice in the first 4 weeks, you're out of the playoff already.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess you're not out of the ACC, which is obviously a big goal, but I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of playing LSU and Clemson in the first 4 weeks. Oh, I'm not scared of anybody. We're a big dog. We're going to eat this year, but I say wait, they are going to eat this year. But I don't like it. I don't like how it sets up. You're going to play a month of football that is meaningless to FSU fans, to national hype in October. That makes no sense to me. You couldn't have slotted Miami in there somewhere so that at least in October you have a meaningful game. You got 2 in September and then 1 in Florida, or 1 in November with Florida. Playing Florida and Miami a week apart, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here that just doesn't quite add up. Who's Miami playing before Florida State?
Have they? I'm looking at like this website that shows the schedules, and they haven't updated it yet. But we could probably go like Miami's.
I'm going to assume it's a bye.
Which one did you ask about? You're asking about who Miami plays before Florida State. Is that
yes? So on November.
So
4th.
Miami before FSU plays NC State, and I believe that is at NC State.
All right, there we go.
NC State.
Hey,
so Miami's back half is not fun. They going from October 14th on, they play at North Carolina, home against Clemson, home against Virginia, at NC State, at FSU, home against Louisville, at BC on November 24th.
Wow. That's got to be like the toughest Miami schedule in what, 10, 15 years?
Well, I mean, they open with soft 4, a bye week, and then home against Georgia Tech. So
that's got to be, I mean,
they got to where you got to play them at some point, but you're playing them all in the back half.
I might go to that game. That's like an hour away.
There are 6 games on Miami's schedule that they may be underdogs in. Right?
I mean, they're definitely going to be underdogs against UNC, Clemson, probably. I mean, we'll know more about these teams like halfway through the year.
At NC State.
At NC State, at FSU.
Brandon, I sent you the logo.
I'm looking at it
for the whole league if you want to throw it up there.
My brain is working much better on that. Oh, okay. Let me see if I can figure out how to do that.
It's just a cool look at looking at the whole league.
AB, are you going to come to the Pitt game? How far away is that from you?
It's about 7 hours. I might. Yeah, we'll see. We've got to see what's going on here around the farm. But
it's a soft. We'll see. Doesn't sound very promising.
Well, I don't know. I can't schedule it that far. I can't schedule things that far in advance. I'm not sure.
You got chickens might be clucking.
That might be a solid weekend though. No, I was looking at Boston College or Pitt, one of the two.
How far is Boston from you?
Like 8 hours the other direction, 7. So I need them to play Virginia at Virginia. That's like a good 4.5. I'm in there like swimwear.
This podcast is deteriorating quickly. It's not AB's fault.
All right, so I've heard bits and pieces while trying to get kids to bed. Chris is okay with the schedule.
He's being an ACC apologist. It's strange. I don't understand.
You got to play him at some point. Is how I
Jim Phillips is in his pocket clearly.
That's what I'm saying.
Zach, I haven't heard Zach's take
on the schedule in general.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like I'm not one to get super upset over schedules. I mean, if FSU is good enough, they're going to win every game, and if they're not, they're going to lose. I get that ordering matters when you play certain games. I get it, but to me, that's something I worry about more in real time than looking ahead, because a lot of these teams, I mean, our perception of them is going to change by week 1, right? Like some of these teams might just be might have crazy outings in week 1, and they're going to be way better than anyone expected. That happens every single year. I mean, look where FSU is projected to finish in the ACC before the season, where they ended up. So, to me, I'm not too overworked about it, but I get people's gripes. And to me, the biggest thing is looking at that first month and just having that one not great home game, true home game, is not something that I think is super ideal to Florida State, just because obviously if they start to gain some momentum right after that week 1 game against LSU like they did last year, you want to capitalize on that. The football program does. And let's say they win LSU, lose Clemson. Not saying this is going to happen, but let's say that happens. Then you move into that. You go into a bye, and then you move into that boring home stretch in October with not a ton of hype. Because you're coming up with that loss. So to me, I would have liked to see more home games, at least 2 in Doak within September. But to me, I'm not like so overworked about it like maybe Brendan.
Well, so here's the point, and I'm part of that is I'm hamming it up a little bit and having fun with it. I don't think that you're. I think the ACC is erring and not protecting one of its primary brands, especially in a year where. This is a moving year for FSU. You have a chance to level up once again. You did it in 2022. You can do it again in 2023. Why you wouldn't help out FSU, especially going into a marquee game against Clemson? To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But we could say, it's a loser mentality to think FSU could lose it 2 out of the first 4 games. I don't think it will. But let's just say that happens, and you lose nail biters to LSU and Clemson. Look at that schedule. What happens then? In October, you come off the bye week and you are out of it in national title contention already, and you're hanging by a thread in ACC play. You have 1, 2, 3 home games in a row, and then 2 more in November. Like, what is that going to do for local businesses if you start off the year poorly? And that's always a chance potentially, but to not give the team a chance to start building some wins and have some momentum and putting FSU at a chance where it could attain a reasonable second loss. There's not a whole lot of reasonable losses on the schedule, maybe 3 total, where FSU won't be favored. And even then, I'm not sure. But you have 2 of those in the first 4 weeks of the season. That could be very detrimental to a lot of people, local business-wise. It doesn't make sense to me. You're not helping FSU out. You're not helping out the city of Tallahassee. I don't care for the layout of this, to be totally honest.
I thought my proposed schedule was the best schedule that could have been.
I agree with you, Chris.
Just saying.
Yeah, I didn't dislike it. If I was to change it, I think I would swap the bye and the Clemson game. I would like that bye prior to Clemson. And I think I would swap Syracuse and Miami. That way you get a meaningful home game in the month of October for local businesses if you're hot. And I just think having that bye before Clemson is valuable. But I mean, look, BC's, I'm not expecting a whole lot out of them this year. I don't think anybody really is. It stinks you're going on the road, though. You hate to play back-to-back road games.
That was my gripe with this. If it was a home game, that's different.
Yeah.
What I did, AB, was I said if you switch Clemson and Virginia Tech, so you get the bye week before Clemson and you get a home game in the first month of the season, I think that right there is and then you have balance the rest of the way, 2 home, 2 away, 2 home again. I think that would have been the easiest solution. But here we are.
They're going to get a lot of good looks at Pitt. They get Pitt plays VT prior to Florida State playing VT. Pitt plays Wake Forest prior to playing FSU. So you're going to get a good scout on them. Just trying to look at some trends here on it. I really don't like playing Miami so late. Why are they obsessed with playing Miami in November now?
It's been a recent trend. Probably because they don't think the 2 teams will meet in the ACC championship game, because that's not what Miami does. So they don't worry about a matchup.
Is that why you're playing Clemson? Is that one reason why you think they're playing Clemson so early? Is because if the loser of that, there's not that whole.
Mm-hmm. Chris said that earlier as a potential logic trail to follow. Yes.
Jim texted him and let him know that. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm. Chris, this is the talking point. We want you to get out. Jim Phillips texted you.
Spread our message, Chris.
Hey, so on to Miami late in the season point. 3 of the last 4 meetings prior to this year have been November games, November 2nd, 5th, and 13th in that stretch. The other one mixed in there was September 26th. That was in the 2020 season. Prior to that, it was consistently an October game for 4 straight years, October 6th, 7th, 8th, and 10th. So it's funny how, that's an 8-year stretch we're talking about there, that there was that stretch of 4 straight years of October, and now we've gravitated to November. Historically, it's bounced around. A lot of September meetings, a lot of October meetings, a handful of September meetings, and a smattering of November meetings.
I remember playing high school football and preseason. I think we were doing like camp stuff, like 2-a-days, and maybe, no, that wouldn't make sense based on when the schedule started. It was the rain game. It was a really sloppy rain game. I think Kyle Wright was the Miami quarterback then.
That would have been what, 02, 03?
Right, so maybe
Ballpark?
maybe 03, maybe a little bit after that.
It was
I just remember
October
practice
consistently in that stretch, and then they played. Obviously, they had the bowl matchup in 04. It started 04, but in 04 the regular season match was in September, and the next 2 years was the opening game, the 5th and the 4th of September. I think the 10th game I want to say was week 2, but I can't remember for sure. I'm struggling with my month. September 10th. Back in 04. I think that was the second game of the season.
And Kyle Wright would have been a little bit later on because I think I was in high school. Yeah, he played at Miami 2005, 2006, 2007.
Actually, the September 10th game was also an opener in 04. So I guess it was 3 straight years of openers.
All right, guys. Think we've got everything we wanted to out of this. A little later this evening, Trey Rowland is going to take a look at the schedule, do a 2:47. Is that what we're calling it?
2 minutes 47 seconds. I don't know what the official name is, but
we'll let the master of the gimmick.
Yeah, everything you need to know about Florida State football in under 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. Let's wrap it up. Zach, one more time. Is there a special deal to let people know about?
Yeah,
down there.
Looking right here. Go to Noles247.com right now. You got to take advantage of it while you can. Only 4 more hours left of this deal. 75% off an entire year of a subscription at Noles247. There's a story on the front page which shows you exactly what you're getting in the subscription. You're getting access to a bunch of stuff. Take advantage of it, man. $2 a month for the rest of the year, or for the next year. I shouldn't say the rest of the year, but yeah, for a full year. Take advantage of it. Noles247.com. Only for the next 4 hours. It's a flash sale, so make sure if you're thinking about it, if you have been thinking about it, jump at the opportunity right now to take advantage of this one, because we don't usually get them this high, 75% off. That's a major discount. So
big deal.
Yeah.
And then AB and I are going to be doing a scouting breakdown of some of FSU's emerging targets with Kev a little bit after this. I think we're going to run that on Tuesday morning. So a lot of stuff on the Noles 24/7 YouTube page. Make sure you've liked, you subscribed, so that way you get alerts when things are happening. Yep, down there. So yeah, for Chris Nee, for Coach AB, for Zach Blostein, I'm Brendan Sano. This has been On the Bench. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. On Tuesday. Woo! All right, we'll get out of here. See you guys later this week.